It has never replaced the best car in the world because it had become too big, too rich, and too in your face. Alas, the monster Merc was made for an age when it was okay to flash some cash without fear of getting bashed. How the times have changed.
Contrary to popular belief, the 4x4 market hasn't collapsed at all. Last year, the British bought nearly 80,000 chunky off-roaders. But if you're buying a vehicle that spends 99% of its time on the road, surely it makes sense to have something a little less bulky and a little more like a car. Well, that's the kind of machine that Subaru have been making for years. Long before they became famous for rallying, farmers up and down the country bought them and drove them into the ground loaded with sheep and bales of hay. They might have lacked the ultimate off-road ability of a Land Rover, but they were cheaper and a good deal more civilized. And with the latest version of the Legacy, Subaru are trying to woo the kind of people who want 4x4s for style first and practicality second. Called the Legacy Outback, it's got some of the features of bigger off-roaders. Front spotlights, roof rails, twin sunroofs, two-tone paint and beefy alloy wheels. But unlike most 4x4s, the boot is very big and very usable. It's got nearly 8 inches of ground clearance, but more of that later. First of all, how does it fare on the road? The answer is really rather well. Subaru's permanent four-wheel drive means that it's sure-footed even in weather like this. It's got a 2.5-litre flat-4 engine which gives it good ground clearance away from the tarmac and good performance on it. The Outback has a 4-speed automatic as standard and it suits the engine very well. Well, it's all very Japanesey in here. It's a bit like driving a big Toyota, actually. But it's quiet and it's comfortable. It's all very competent. The dashboard's nicely laid out, but masses of black plastic, of course. The seats are very comfortable and there's tons of space in here. And it's probably not the most exhilarating drive I've ever had in my life, but thousands of miles will waft past very happily. And off-road, it'll do all that most buyers will ever ask of it. Other Legacies come with high and low ratio manual gearboxes, but even with an automatic and no low ratio, you can still get a good way into the Outback in an Outback, which is good news for farmers whose loyalty to Subaru is enormous.
In the mid-1970s, my father bought a pickup truck, and I believe that he was one of the first people in South Shropshire to acquire a Subaru. And he liked it, and he bought one for my mother. That was a Justy. Soon after that, my aunt bought a Subaru Estate. I bought a Subaru Estate, and my sister had a Subaru Justy, and I bought a Subaru Estate for my wife. So it seemed to run in the family.
So what do farmers make of the Legacy Outback?
First impression of it, it looks quite impressive. It's got good ground clearance, it's quite strong, looks comfortable, got plenty of room in the back.
It looks okay. I'm slightly worried that Subarus are going sort of upmarket. They seem to be getting lower, faster, sleeker. And, you know, if you're buying a Subaru, you need it to go off-road. And if it won't go across fields and woodland tracks, I don't think it's much use. You might as well get a faster car.
I think they're going to have a job to sell them to people with their Range Rovers and their Jeeps, because they're sat up high in the air and they think there's something else when they can see over the edge. Whereas when you're sat down, you're with the rest of the crowd, so to speak.
In the USA, the Outback has gone down a storm, accounting for 60% of all Subaru sales. But I can't really see the same thing happening here. It's better to drive than most 4x4s and probably more practical. But people who are buying an off-roader for style are still going to want the height and bulk of a Cherokee or an Explorer. And most farmers are going to buy the base model Legacy that costs £8,000 less than the £23,000 that Subaru are asking for this high-spec Outback. It's not quite as posh, but you won't be afraid to put the boot to good use. Use. Get it? Oh well, please yourself. Well, I was happy just to do an ordinary road test, but they said try and make it funny, so I did my best. Anyway, I thought that was quite a good joke. Honestly, to get you out in all this bad weather, I had to get up at 6 o'clock this morning for this.